What do you get when you take the tried and true 2D Legend of Zelda formula and just dial up the weird? Which, yes, is saying something. And then you pepper it with clever and witty humor, add in a dash of well-placed rogue elements, and then finish it off with one of the most addictive, well thought out, and rewarding power-up systems ever made. You get an action RPG that you do not want to miss. The only way it could be any better is if it was co-op. Oh wait, it is. Released in early 2022 by Drinkbox Studios, Nobody Saves the World is a top-down action RPG that might just be the actual incarnation of the saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey. You play as the titular nobody. They nailed my D&D character with this one. This is my resume. So, surprisingly low-key. The main idea here is that we are trying to figure out exactly who, or what, we are with the use of a magic wand that we discovered alongside a very suspicious note requesting help. Or, at least we would if it wasn't for this really annoying douchebag in our way. Don't cut back to me! Captain Douchebag here drops you down into the tutorial area, where you quickly discover that you have Ditto's signature move. Transform. Don't worry, it gets better. Being dropped right into the thick of things, fans of The Legend of Zelda will feel right at home with a top-down action. Enemies get in your way, and you chew them up. Combat itself is pretty straightforward, at least at first. You have your traditional health bar, a mana bar, and 2 attacks, both of which, with this transformation, can do poison damage. Nice. Once you chomp your way out of the tutorial, you're pretty much immediately roped into stopping some great ancient evil that everyone expected the original Magic Wand owner to handle, aka this guy from the note. Because, you know, somebody's gotta do it, and it's either you or this guy. To pull this off, we're going to need to collect pieces of a magical crystal that's been split between 5 giant dungeons. And yeah, I know, sounds pretty typical, but at least now you're finally free to go wild and explore the world. And with a goal in mind, evil looming in the distance, and the mystery of your identity hanging over your head, here is where things get really interesting. Popping open our map, we see that we have a few destinations available to us, with different difficulty levels that we can tackle at our leisure. But, things don't look too promising. We're gonna need to power up. And here is where Nobody Saves the World really shines, with one of the most unique, well-designed, and rewarding experience systems that I have ever seen. And it goes hand in hand with its upgrade system. Beautiful. Gone, but not really, is the traditional grind of just wiping out enemies as you watch an experience bar slowly cap off. Instead, everything is governed by an accomplishment system. As you fulfill quests, you gain experience and wands. Wands are required to enter the main storyline dungeons, and you need a whopping 240 if you want to make it to the end. Which may seem like a lot, but it really isn't. From the traditional just helping people solve their problems, to the freebies of slaughtering monsters and conquering dungeons, to simply just powering up, everything is a quest. No, seriously, everything is a quest. Late game, you can get wands from just walking. Yeah, walking is a quest.
God, it's too much work.
In fact, you'll probably be gaining plenty of levels and wands as is without even meaning to, as you are going to be running around like crazy, exploring this amazing world as there is just so much to discover. Though it's the world itself that people might find umbrage with. While from a gameplay perspective, Nobody Saves the World is pretty much the same as Zelda, but looking at the art style, not so much. This game leans pretty hard into that gross out, sloppy kind of aesthetic, you know, the one where everything is like dripping or gooey with a hint of creepiness. If you are a fan of shows like Ren and Stimpy or games like The Booger Man or Binding of Isaac, you're in for a treat. And as someone who really doesn't like that kind of style, I can honestly say it didn't really bother me here, because fortunately, I don't think it ever really goes too far. And while it still looks fantastically done, this is some nice art, the visuals themselves aren't the selling point like they are in most mediums that use gross out tactics. but instead are cleverly used to punctuate the comedic writing and fast-paced action. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is, don't let the visuals scare you away. They're really not that bad. Because you'll miss out on, a lot of scenic locations? The game starts you out in your typical medieval-like setting with knights and a king, only to send you off to a desert full of mutants. Enter a decaying dragon. Have an elegant conversation with dolphins. Assist average earthlings. And even escape a deadly office building. Well, that was easy. And that is only the tip of the iceberg. Seriously, there is a lot of variety here, and while I can go ahead and sing the praises of the game's visuals, combat, and clever writing all day long, which they do deserve, the real shining star and the main reason I kept exploring, kept getting excited to see that next big dungeon, and kept coming back for more, is without a doubt the mix and matching transformation mechanics. As noted earlier, when you start off, you only had your lame base form and the rat to transform into. But as you level up and accomplish more tasks, you'll unlock a plethora of different forms. From archer to mermaid, a slug, zombie, robot, bodybuilder, and even an egg. And so much more. And what's truly awesome is how they all build on top of each other. Every single form comes with a unique passive and a few attacks, unlocking more as they level up. Things like rapid firing arrows, slowing foes down with slime, infecting them so they become zombie minions when they die, or just inflicting different status effects. But what makes this all stand out from most games is that you level up each form by achieving certain feats with those skills. And as you level up each form, new forms become available. But the best part, yes, I dare say the best part, is that the new skills are not limited to the individual forms. You can mix and match abilities and passives to completely customize your playstyle. And the game absolutely encourages this, as the higher levels for each transformation actually requires you to accomplish tasks with other forms' skills and abilities, basically giving you a tiny taste of the combat's true potential. And in a nice touch, if you are playing co-op, these accomplishments count towards both players, so you can either focus down one of them or divide and conquer. But just know, the game is going to test how creative you can really get. Because aside from the main dungeons that you have to conquer in order to beat the game, the world is littered with mini dungeons, and these are easily the best action segments in the game, as each one comes with its own little caveat seemingly designed to force you to constantly be coming up with new builds and strategies. Plus, these are the only areas in the game that change their layouts and spawns whenever you leave and re-enter, aka whenever you get off. And there are just simply too many to mention here, but the one that really stands out in my mind the most is the dungeon where every single attack does the maximum amount of damage possible. And when I say every attack, I mean every single attack. Yours and your enemies. So basically, you one-shot everything, and vice versa. No amount of grinding is going to help you with that. So it's up to you to figure out how to overcome it. I know just who to ask. But unfortunately, it's also in these dungeons that we find the game's biggest shortcomings. Despite how clever the dungeons and enemies can be, the bosses just aren't. And that's not to say that they're bad or anything, they're often just bigger versions of normal enemies, and this definitely sounds like a nitpick because, yeah, it totally is. Everything else is just so clever and creative that this just sticks out like a sore thumb. Especially in the final boss battle, who, while a unique foe, doesn't really make the most of everything you learned. Especially compared to the mini dungeons. It is a very lackluster fight, and in general, a weak way to cap off an otherwise amazing game. Though, points for working character development into it. But that really is about as bad as it gets unless you really can't stomach the visual style. Which, hey, to each their own. While Nobody Saves the World has a bit of a slow start and definitely stumbles at the finish line, this game really is all about that fantastic and ludicrous journey. With excellent co-op gameplay, fun and goofy visuals, clever writing, and one of, if not the best, level up system ever made, it's time to show the world what a nobody can really do.